fucks left. No, no. I have no fucks, right? Oh, oh. I have no fucks left. No, no. So fuck off. I'm busy. Bye bye. Piss off. Not sorry. Don't cry.
If you were a chick, who's the one guy you would sleep with?
John Stamos.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
Do you want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup.
I have no fucks left. No, no. I have no fucks, right? Oh, oh.
Hello, bonjour, good day, greetings and salutations. Welcome, one and all, to an all-new episode of No Fucks Left, the show that answers the question, what happens when a Gen X Leo who didn't get enough attention discovers podcasting? They, in this case me, Landyn Shaw, would start this very podcast called No Fucks Left. And then naturally, that would take us into the word of the day.
What's the word? The word of the day.
So you're going to quickly notice, because I'm going to tell you, and then of course you'll also see, that we have a nice little theme in today's episode. And that theme would be me. And I know what you're thinking, but I promise there is a story to back all this up. So the word of the day is me. M-E, or M-I, or M-I-E. But basically, anytime you hear the word me, you know what to do. You're going to yell, you're going to scream, you're going to dance, you're going to sing, you're going to go crazy and have some fun, because that's what we like to do around here. At least I'm trying to. So live a little, step outside your comfort zone, and join in and celebrate the word of the day, which today is me.
This is another segue. I say what you say. Another segue. Ooh la la. Sing it again. This is another segue.
I know what you're thinking. How much more could Landyn talk about herself in this podcast? Well, you're about to find out that I can do a lot more. But honestly, I am satisfying the will of the people. In the last couple of weeks, I have received tons of email messages and comments and great, amazing interaction with our social media channels. And I just need to say that it really is very touching and it means so much to me. And many of you have kind of commented, and I swear this has happened, that you don't know still a lot about me, which I guess makes sense, because I think I'm always kind of talking about myself, but in reality, in the grand scheme of things, I'm sharing how I feel at this given moment or this given time. And again, as I have said before, this podcast is always evolving. And so I get more and more what these comments are referring to, which is even when I listen to the podcasts I do, I really am engaged because I know those hosts. And in the case of What the Fuck with Mark Maron or Smartless, I really know those hosts because they're actors and comedians and entertainers. And so we know a lot about them if you're fans, and that makes sense. So I thought that I would definitely give the people what they're asking for, at least the people that wrote to us. So we're going to celebrate, and it's kind of a dual celebration here, because today is my official 26th episode, which means we're like half a year old, because there's 52 weeks. We're at 26. I'm pretty good at math. That means 6 months. Yeah. And I must tell you, I was talking to our lovely, amazing intern today, Ryan Balmer. And I was saying that when I first started this, I thought, if I can just get to 10 episodes, I'll be so proud. And I'll feel like I've done something. And here we are, 6 months in, 26 episodes. Now, technically, And this is where I was kind of torn because I didn't know, do I really celebrate it or do I not? It's technically 25 official episodes with one bonus episode to make the 26. But you know what? Fuck it. I've been doing it for 6 months and I'm very proud and I'm very excited. And each week we get bigger and better and we keep growing. And so why not celebrate this big milestone by telling you more about me? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a Cubs Corner today. I'm going to share with you kind of this story from my past that I've just kind of recently have hit upon as I finish some things with my memoir that I thought, okay, I'll start with this story because I think it's really interesting for what I'm kind of dealing with right now. And then we're going to open up the mailbag, directly open up the mailbag and answer some questions here at the end. So it's going to be a fun episode. And we're going to talk about me, and you're going to hear me say the word me a million times. And that's why it's the word of the day. And I'm first going to tell you about my pets. I have 2 glorious pets right now. I thank them in the program notes of every episode. First, I need to mention the one that's been here the longest, and that would be Thespis. Now, Thespis, I rescued from Montana in 2011. Yes, 2011. And I am not, and was not, especially back then, really, a cat person by any stretch of the imagination. I always have drifted towards dogs. They've always been my thing. They've always been my jam, especially because for most of my life, I was actually quite allergic to cats. And I found that out by going to like cast parties and going to people's places, and I would get this reaction, and it kind of surprised me because even growing up, you know, I had cats in and out of my life. So I really wasn't expecting to be allergic to cats at any point. But it turns out that your body changes constantly. And as I hit kind of adulthood, I was allergic to cats, to the point that I really couldn't breathe and my eyes would start watering and I would get all kind of blotchy and red. And so no cats for me. And then because we're constantly changing, I guess I wasn't allergic to them anymore. And I found little Thespis. He was basking in the sunlight as I pulled up in my wife's car that I had driven from where we lived to Montana. And there was this little prince, beautiful orange cat. I don't know what kind that is. Calico, tabby. I don't know much about him. I just knew that I instantly fell in love. And I don't know why, but he stole my heart. And I was literally talking to my wife on the phone to let her know I was there. And I said, I think we're in trouble. I've just found a new friend that I don't know that I'm going to be able to part with. And so, long story short, I adopted him while I was there, and we've had a beautiful journey together. And I love him. No one can drive me more crazy than him. And let me tell you, he is a handful, but I adore him. I love him so much. I love his name. I love everything about him. He is so precious. If you go to my Instagram, TikTok, you'll see tons of pictures of him. Honestly, half my phone is pictures of my pets, because my other pet is Zuzu. And Zuzu's the newest member of our family. She is, without a doubt, a black-mouthed cur, because she just has, and it's funny because my wife and I really kind of dug into this even more today, really trying to figure this out. And we read everything about the breed and their behaviors. And we were like, oh yeah, she definitely is a black-mouthed cur. She's adorable. She's a little over 9 months now. And again, I have this thing with pets. Like, it was just instant. I saw a picture of her online on the rescue or APA, I think. Yeah, one of the shelters here. Great organizations. And I just fell in love with her instantly. And we weren't even really looking for a dog. We had just kind of started talking about it because it was time. I really miss having one. And when I met my wife, she had this beautiful, beautiful dog, Buddy. I had this cute little miniature pinscher, Nikki. And so, we've had dogs collectively, we've had dogs individually. We haven't had a dog that was like just ours from the start. So we didn't know what we were looking for, didn't know what the plan was, just knew that we wanted a dog, and we were just going to find one that grabbed us and kind of look at a couple of specific breeds. Black-mouthed cur was nowhere on our list or our radar. But then it's just one of those things, you know. And so I saw her picture. I immediately sent it to my wife. She was like, let's make an appointment to see her. And we did. And that was that. And it's been truly lovely. I adore her. She's like my daughter. She's very spoiled. And what I mean by daughter is like, I feel as if this was, I gave birth to her basically, because when the estrogen really kicked in, all of a sudden this maternal instinct like just went plah, plah, and I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, as my wife says, I'm nesting, I'm making a nest, I am being the caregiver and the provider, and every maternal female instinct is raging inside of me right now. And so she is like my little baby, and I love her. I love her so much. Again, she's a pain, and especially in that kind of puppy stage that she's in now. But oh God, I just love them. I love them both. I'm such an animal person. Some of you asked like, what's my favorite animal? I mean, my all-time favorite animal is like a whale in general, like orcas specifically. I just have always been obsessed with orcas and dolphins and whales. And I've done whale watches. And my wife for Christmas bought me this kind of beautiful bracelet where I can track a humpback whale that is around Australia. And that's where the good day was. So I love whales. And then I think a close second would be horses. I really love horses. And then dogs are right up in there. So I just wanted to, talk about Thespis and Zuzu. And then a lot of you asked, because I talk about theater all the time and entertainment, do I have any hobbies? And the answer in a nutshell is yes and no. Yes, I have hobbies, and there have been times where I've really relied on those hobbies to kind of carry me through. However, this one particular hobby I'm going to mention, I sadly haven't played in a couple of years, and I'm anxious to do. So my hobby is golf. I love golf. I've always loved golf. I just think there's something really romantic about watching it, and then playing it is even better. I love sports, clearly, where you get to play in big green beautiful fields with grass and scenery and nature. And that's why I love baseball and then golf. And I mean, I can watch golf, like really watch golf. Just ask my wife. I watched the Masters last weekend. I never miss the Masters. I never miss US Open. But she's such a good sport, y'all. Like, my wife is amazing because just everything that she's been through in terms of like falling in love with me, and then finding out that I was intersex, and then finding out that I'm so obscenely passionate about theater and the arts. But then on top of that, by the way, I can never miss a baseball game, a Cubs game that is, and the postseason, of course. And I have certain golf tournaments that I have to watch. Like, what the hell? She never asked for that. Never. But she's such a good sport. I love her. So golf. I love golf. I worked at a private country club for many years. I was the range keeper and the caddy master, and I was actually really good. I got to caddy for Michael Jordan a couple of times, which was a thrill. And I had a lot of fun. That was Knollwood Country Club in Lake Forest. It was phenomenal. It was such a great way to spend my summers. So yeah, my hobby that like no one really knows about because I don't really talk about it a lot is golf. I love golf. I love golfing. I do have dreams of playing like Pebble Beach. I would love to play Pebble Beach. A couple of like TPC Sawgrass, some of the others, historic ones. I would love to play Augusta. Holy shit. And then I have played Dubs Dread, which is really cool. Like I was really excited to be able to check that one off my list. Oh, and I've played Medina, which is that was a thrill too. So, yeah, that's my weird little hobby. And coming up after this little break here, I'm going to share with you a story that is kind of, like I said, relevant to some things that I'm dealing with now. And it's going to be centered around this idea of imposter syndrome. So come on back and learn even more about me. So in case you didn't know, I'm writing a memoir. And I know that would be impossible to miss because I talk about it all the time. But at the same time, I do because, one, I can't believe that I'm finished with it. Like the manuscript is literally just seconds away from going into edit mode. And we've already actually kind of started the editing. And so it's a big deal. And I've always wanted to write. I love writing. But never in a million years would I have ever thought that writing a memoir would be so cleansing and just so therapeutic. And then, couple it with everything that I'm dealing with right now. And it's really been just eye-opening. And there have been many moments in this journey where I have been sobbing over the computer, processing things and just kind of going through it. Or there have been moments where I've just been laughing hysterically because I've thought about something in a new way, or I've revisited something I haven't really thought about in a long time. And then there's been a lot of discoveries. And this discovery I thought was pretty fascinating because it kind of threw me for a whirl and fucked me up a little bit, I gotta admit. And so I thought I'd just share this because as I'm dealing with this idea of imposter syndrome, I'm kind of dealing with it on a couple of different levels. And I don't think it's levels that normally most people experiencing imposter syndrome would be dealing with, this added dimension. And what I mean by that is this. So when I was living in my male self as an actor, performer, because I was so not confident about who I was and was still trying to figure it out, I started to find out that my way to kind of feel more comfortable on stage was to find actors and characters and things to emulate and to basically mimic. And so one of the most obvious things for me to kind of latch onto was Michael J. Fox. And to this day, he's a hero to me, kind of on many levels, obviously, because not only the acting, but then Parkinson's, kind of surreal that two of my idols and inspirations for me to be in this industry and to kind of model who I am and my artistry both have Parkinson's, which is Neil Diamond and Michael J. Fox. And they were two people that I really cued into. Neil for the singing and kind of the showmanship, and Michael for the acting and just kind of interpreting. Now, I cling to Michael first because we were short. I was short. I graduated high school. I was 4'11". I was a male soprano. I had freckles. I had tons of baby fat. I had red hair. I was definitely a ginger, definitely Irish. Did not ever really tan, just burnt, badly. So the sun is not my friend, which is why I have such great skin now. So I was really short, didn't have confidence clearly. just really floundering through life. But I found that with Michael J. Fox, if I acted kind of like Alex P. Keaton, Alex P. Keaton meets like, Michael J. Fox, the person, basically Marty and his Teen Wolf character and all the movies that I saw him in. If I just kind of lived in that world, both on stage and off, I found it just easier because I had something to cling to. And then I would allow me to come out when I was like in private or when I was with friends that I really trusted and was really comfortable around. And but what I mean by that is, and I've been thinking about this because I now cook a lot, as I mentioned, and I'll turn on music as I'm cooking. And in the last couple of weeks, like just today, I played Belinda Carlisle. A couple of days ago, I played Janet Jackson. A couple of days before that, and it was Indigo Girls, Lady Gaga. I was obsessed when I was a teenager with Tiffany and Debbie Gibson and the Go-Go's, of course. And I mean, just basically any band or singer that any girl in the 80s and 90s was listening to, I also was listening to and consuming at great amounts. How no one said anything, how my parents didn't, like, I just don't get it because, again, my obsession with Tiffany was like an obsession. I went to Woodfield Mall to see her. I would perform concerts of her music for my family after Sunday dinner to like stay and watch and listen to. How are no alarm bells going off that, hey, I don't think that the kid you think is a cisgendered kid, supposedly straight or whatever is like, I don't know, like you may want to figure some things out here because I'm listening to just everything that all these, girls in my life were listening to because I always hung out with all the girls. So at any rate, I clung to Michael J. Fox. I clung to Neil Diamond. I just loved them and I wanted to be them. And so I would mimic what they did. And it just became very natural and easy for me. And I was always someone that constantly played with voices. I was obsessed with like Disney and Muppets and things like that. So I was always playing with my voice. And so I started doing like impersonations, and that morphed into my first kind of impersonation, if you will, of a singer that I just really, really, emulated was Neil Diamond, because he was just really stylistically easy to hear what made him him. And so I would just copy his lilts and his kind of, that kind of thing. And I got really good at it. So much so that early on in my career, when I started singing and they would be like, okay, just sing a song. And I would sing it kind of, There is a Castle on a Cloud, like from Les Miserables. I would kind of sing it. I would kind of sing it like Neil Diamond. So it'd be like, there is a castle on a cloud. I like to go there in my sleep. It's just so bizarre. So I'm going to auditions, singing like Neil Diamond, doing musical theater songs, which, if you've ever listened to Hot August Nights, he does sing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables. So I thought it kind of fit, and it worked. But soon I had casting directors and agents kind of being like, hey, is there a reason you're kind of doing a really bad impression of Neil Diamond as you sing all these songs? And I was like, first of all, it's bad. And secondly, yeah, because he's the coolest. And so eventually I learned like that wasn't going to work, and I had to figure out my own voice. So I am proud to say that I did find my own kind of style of singing. And, I think it's very much based in Neil Diamond in terms of I have a very percussive quality to my voice. I'm really good on consonants and what have you. And so even when I try to not be Neil Diamond, he's still there. He's always going to be there. And the same is true when it comes to my acting. Michael J. Fox was very kind of, not muggy, because I don't like that word, but he was able to kind of fill those pauses, especially on Family Ties, with like another beat and another look. And he just was very expressive. And he wasn't afraid to use his body. One of my all-time favorite episodes is when he does this dance audition that, oh my God, to this day still can make me laugh. One of my favorite episodes, bar none. And so I just love the way that he used his height and his kind of natural energy and charms to his advantage. And so for Alex P. Keaton, it was just so natural. And then Marty gave me another level. And so I really just modeled my acting and my kind of charisma and my personality from Michael, without a doubt. And then obviously as I got older, that morphed into then taking things from like Mandy Patinkin, because I really loved Mandy, and Brian Stokes Mitchell. Oh my God, Brian Stokes Mitchell. A little bit of Terrence Mann, a little bit of, Hunter Foster, when You're in Town came out, and Jason Daniele, and Raul Esparza, all these kind of male voices that were really, really pleasant and really just quite beautiful to me. I would start to kind of pick up things from them. So I was constantly, again, somewhat mimicking. And it's crazy because in the grand scheme of things, I had a pretty decent acting career. I know I've talked about it. You know, I did some cool things. I had some cool experiences. And I think I got to a point in my career where I started to have confidence that, okay, Landyn, with an O, because that was my stage name, in this male persona is, I got this figured out. Like, I know what type I am. I know what I'm marketable as. I know what roles are good for me. And I feel confident playing those, you know, Pippin and Dickon in Secret Garden and Jack in Into the Woods. And I love those roles, and I have those roles down. And then I even had dream roles. I wanted to play, I think you've heard me say it on the show before, Harold Hill in The Music Man. Don Quixote was a role that I really thought, oh, I would love to just devour that. Marius in Les Mis, that then kind of morphed into Jean Valjean. At one point, I really fantasized about being one of the dads in Mamma Mia, because I had been called in for those auditions many, many times. And at first, I wasn't a huge fan of the show. I thought it was kind of over the top and not really my bag. But then I saw that the script was actually quite good, and the music, of course, is outstanding. And so I really started to fall in love with it. So I have all these dream roles that are very male, naturally, and all these inspirations that are male actors. And then along the way, there were many females that I would hear on soundtracks, and I would, again, be very moved by and inspired by. But I didn't really try to necessarily mimic them per se, although I can do a really good Carol Channing. And I'll save that for another episode, but I do a great Carol. And there are females, again, especially if they have really unique voices, that I would definitely try to just be able to emulate and be able to get there. But again, even though I knew, or I eventually figured out who I was on the inside, I didn't ever think that I would need to learn how to navigate the acting world as a female, because I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. I didn't. And so the part that I find very interesting is now that I'm in this world and people ask me, oh, are you going to perform again? Are you going to act? I want to really badly, but I just don't know what roles or what shows I would audition for. I have many ideas of what I would want to do. But because I just never thought any of this was possible or would be possible, and then if it would happen, I never thought I would be able to then have a career as well. It's just, I find it very weird that I don't have this pull to any roles, that nothing has really spoken to me yet. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But I find that interesting. And I find that interesting too, that like the females I really look up to, be it Meryl Streep, Jane Fonda, it's not that I necessarily look at them as being inspirations as a female artist, but I look at them as just being inspirations as artists, as women, as people, especially when it comes to Jane Fonda and her activism. And so the people that the artists that I look up to, when it comes to the women, I don't necessarily see them for being an actress or being like, oh, I would love to perform like them. I just see them as these amazing artists and just humans. But the men, it's just very interesting because with the men, it's very specific as to, yes, I think they're great artists, but I also think like I would want to be like them, or I'd want to perform like them, or I'd want to sound like them, or, it's just, it's weird. And of course that's natural because every male actor and every female actor does that. So I'm not unique in that regard. But for me, that kind of sense of mimicking and that kind of imitation and fondness and admiration was more about absorbing them and really truly trying to be them. And so what that all leads to is, as I'm writing my memoir, I have imposter syndrome on one level that I have constantly said, who wants to read this story? Who's going to read this story? No one really gives a fuck about me. This is ridiculous. What am I doing? And honestly, my book did not start out as a memoir. It actually started out as kind of, my publisher had this great word for it, but it's like kind of a, not even self-help, but it was going to be basically about overcoming adversity and the fact that here I am in my age with Parkinson's, still kind of working and performing and hustling and not letting it get in my way. Overcoming COVID, which was a big deal. Not that I had COVID, but just the pandemic and the impact it had on our career and our industry. And so that's kind of what it was going to be about. And it was really coming out of the fact that my dad had passed away, which is a big, big deal to me. And I know I mentioned it here. And so the book was going to be kind of this thing that I needed to do to deal with my dad and his loss and my life. And then in the midst of all that writing, I got about maybe a year into it, I started my transformation. And as I was writing, I realized I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend to be that person that I used to be, because how do I leave that person and then still try to write a story from that perspective? It just is going to seem false. And if I'm on a quest for authenticity, and if I'm on a quest to finally be myself and to be able to enjoy that and live that, I don't know that I can tell these stories through a lens that I no longer want to even, think about. And so that was a huge struggle, because suddenly I had to try to accept this part of my life that was very important, i.e. my acting career, my inspirations, how I felt about Neil and Michael and Jimmy Stewart, who's another big influence in my life. How do I handle them, and my love for them, and the fact that now I'm getting to be me finally, the real me. Like, Is my admiration for them false? I questioned that. I really did. I questioned, should I still have a fondness for them anymore? I just went on this huge, like, just soul searching expedition where I just was really kind of questioning everything for a while. What is real? What isn't? How can I be real? What is authenticity? Is being an artist actually authentic? Is everyone just kind of faking it? All this kind of shit. It was just crazy. And then through all of that was this other through line of like, who is going to read this book? Like, why am I doing this? I am setting myself up for the biggest disappointment ever. No one is going to want to read this. But then along the way, as I kept writing and as I shared some of the chapters with my writing circles and the various groups that I participate in when I was writing and going on the process, I started hearing things like, are you kidding me? You're one of the most fascinating people I know or I've heard of. Like, holy shit, Parkinson's, and you're intersex, and you fractured 2 vertebrae, and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, okay, well, oh, thank you. That's really sweet of you all. And then as I kept doing that and talking to people and sharing and, you know, being very open about everything, the feedback was, no, you have something to say, and someone will find that, and someone will need that. And you need to write this book, and you need to do a podcast, and you need to, you know, tick off your list everything that you still want to accomplish, because that's going to be important. And it seems too that right now, at least in our world, thankfully, that despite all the bullshit we're dealing with, it seems that there is a hunger from a lot of people to have authenticity in their life, to, you know, kind of look up to people that are living an authentic life and take notes from that and find out what's working for them and find out what you can apply to your own life. Because I will tell you that it's the secret sauce. It really is. You know, this whole time I thought the goal to having a great life was to have an amazing wife and family, to have a great career, to, you know, be able to financially support yourself and live nicely, et cetera, et cetera. But no, I can safely say now that the secret sauce and kind of the secret to a fulfilling life is one of full authenticity. One where every single day you get to wake up and be you and know that the people that are interacting with you all the time see you for who you are and are reacting to you because they like you, or they enjoy you, or they enjoy your company, or in some instances they never want to see you again. Like, good and bad. And that's, for me, exciting. Like, literally the people that are even kind of disgusted by me, right? And that's out there. You know, I'd be lying if I didn't say it wasn't. Like, there are people that are disgusted by me and don't think I deserve to live, and don't think I deserve to go to the bathroom, and don't think that my wife and I deserve to be happy. And that's really sad. But I also take some stock in knowing that, hey, at least they're hating me, like the real me. Like, you know, at least they're not hating some version of me that I'm pretending to be, or, you know, that I this personality trait that I'm putting out there, or like a character or whatever. Like, no, they're hating me. And I know it sounds weird, but there's kind of a power in that. And there's kind of just a satisfaction that, hey, okay, it's not even the things I'm saying. It's not even how I act or how I behave. Like, you hate me. And that's good. At least I'm putting out a me that you can hate. And I'm putting out a me that you can love, because I am being me. Me. There it is. Me. The word of the day. I told you I'd say it a lot, but it's true. I am me. And there's such a peacefulness in that. And there is such a sense of calm and a sense of relief. And I am beginning to see how people can be admirable of that, and how people would want that in their own life and want to get as close to that as possible, because I know it's not easy for everyone to do. And I know that not everyone can do it. You know, I think to be fully authentic sometimes means that you have to, if you're not someone who's comfortable to be in the spotlight, or to, you know, hold an audience, or to just be open about yourself, it can be very daunting, because I am very vulnerable. And again, I'm just sharing my experience. So my authenticity also comes with a lot of vulnerability, comes with a lot of baggage. It comes with a lot of uncertainty, and it comes with a lot of, you know, other problems for sure. Most definitely. But at the same time, what is giving me the ability to take on all of this, to look at laws being passed in other states right now that are trying to say that people like me don't deserve to live and should be arrested, and what we're doing is breaking the law. What we're doing, literally, by being ourselves, by living, we're breaking the law. What is getting me through all of this is the fact that I at least know that no matter what happens, I have finally lived the life that I've always dreamed of. And I hope I get to live this life for a very long time. But there's a certain kind of peace in knowing that a life lived, you know, even if it's not well lived or long lived, is still better than a life not lived. A life lived is still better than constantly wondering who I am, or constantly wondering, you know, will people like me and accept me if I show who I am? And that straddling that line between being safe and kind of still being yourself, or a self that you think you are, that was kind of exhausting, I must admit. I mean, I found it to be very beneficial, and I learned a lot, and I would say I'm very worldly, and I got to observe a lot, which has been amazing. And I think there's a lot that I can share. But at the same time, it was exhausting, very exhausting. And so I don't feel as tired now. I don't feel as heavy. I don't feel, I just don't feel this anger, or this chip on my shoulder that I always seemed to have before. And it's because I was always on guard. I was always ready to be defensive. I was always ready to try to outsmart whoever I thought I needed to outsmart at any given time. So it was all exhausting. And now it's just so refreshing, and it's so beautiful. And yes, I still have imposter syndrome, and I don't think I'm never going to not have it. I think, you know, just in the nature of what we do for a living, or what I do for a living, at least, I think, you know, a healthy amount of imposter syndrome is kind of good. I think it keeps you humble. But I'm also very relieved to know that I only have it now on one level, which is, who the fuck wants to read a book by Landyn with a Y, you know, and listen to a podcast, and, you know, but clearly people do. And that's proof in social media and TikTok, especially. You know, I go on TikTok and I see people engaging with things that I'm kind of like, well, this person's not doing anything. They're not entertaining. They're just working. And yet there's 2,000 people watching. And so that kind of experience has shown me that there are people on a daily basis that are looking for the reality, that are looking for just kind of the status quo, or just kind of like that even center where nothing's heightened, where nothing's made up, where nothing's false, where nothing's, dramatized. It's authenticity. And I can see why, as a society, there's many of us that are moving towards that and that are pursuing that, because it's comforting. It's very comforting. And so I just wanted to, again, in the spirit of the show, and in the spirit of the questions and some of the feedback from the listeners, to kind of use this opportunity to share with you even more about myself and this journey and what I'm going through. And I think it'll be especially relevant as we get closer to the release of my memoir, that you kind of, if you are an avid listener, you have this kind of background. And I think it'll just accompany the book a lot better, because you'll kind of have an added dimension to some of these stories, because you can only go into so much detail or descriptions within the book. And so I always kind of started this podcast as a way for me to document my transformation, but also to kind of explore some of these avenues now that the memoir and the reflection and the writing has opened up and inspired. So I can't recommend it enough. If there's any of you that are thinking about writing a book, do it. Do it. Like, don't let anything stop you. And that's true of anything. If you have dreams and you have ambitions and you have things you still want to do it. Do it. I can't tell you the sense of accomplishment. I really can't. I don't have the words for it, because it's pretty awesome and overwhelming when I think about the fact that, even if my book never gets published, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be, even if it never gets published, I did it. I literally sat down and wrote it. So even if just my family were to, get it when I'm long gone, it's there. I did it. And so I encourage all of you to do it too. And thank you. Thank you for cozying up to Auntie Landyn and listening to me tell some stories about my past. But I'll do more of this, I promise, because I do see the point to it. And I think I see it from not only my perspective and what I can get from it, but then the power of this platform and what I can do for others. So thank you, everyone, and hope you enjoyed the story.
Who's the greatest baseball team around? Who is the team that gets all the others down? It's easy, and forgive me if I boast as I say, it's the Cubs, Cubbies all the way. Welcome to Cubs Corner.
We're a month in, so of course I had to do a Cubs Corner. Especially after watching two kind of painful games, had to just jump on and say, damn, we need some pitching. We need some pitching. I know it seems that we always need some pitching, but this year it's very evident, especially with Justin Steele going down. Justin, our hearts break for you. I think you're fantastic, and I'm really sad. Your season was looking quite good. I know you had a kind of a bumpy start there, but that last outing you had was outstanding. And so I was really bummed to hear that news. I hope the surgery goes well or went well, and that you heal perfectly and you're even better than before. But we need some pitching help, y'all. At least the bats are working, and that's good. Normally, the Cubs kind of are synonymous for bullpens collapsing and then our offense completely stopping and not being able to do anything. So at least in the two instances in San Diego, you kind of could put a finger to, this is more pitching related in terms of just how did things collapse? Now, I will say defense was a problem too. I mean, 2 errors at 1 and bat with Manny Machado before he turns around and hits a home run. Like, you just knew that was all going to happen exactly as it went down. Sometimes with the Cubbies, if it weren't for bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. So, and I will join also the bandwagons and say, you know, to the Ricketts family, to Jed Hoyer, not that I'm sure you will ever listen to this, but just in case you do, spend the fucking money. You're in a big city. You now have a gambling institution or whatever the fuck it is inside of Wrigley. I mean, you're basically printing money at this point. You know your tickets are going to sell. Even when we're in last place, you know that. Ricketts, you grew up as a fan of the Cubs. So you knew even in those really, really bad times, Wrigley was still pretty full. And then for certain series, it would be really full, you know, Cardinals, etc. So that's why I think you're cheap. Because at the end of the day, you think the fans are going to keep coming out. Well, I got news for you. Because you went and won a World Series pretty early into your ownership, you set the bar, and that's good. That's a good bar to set because we needed that win. You needed that win. It's what bought you the opportunity to do everything you've been doing to the park, to that block, to the team. So you owe the fans. All of you owe the fans. And this is what we are requesting. You give a contract to Kyle Tucker. You pay the man whatever he wants, because that bat is only going to come back and punish us if you let him go. And you know that. Think about all the great hitters and pitchers that we've let go over time, only to see them come back to us and be like, whoa, fuck you, you let us go. You know, Dylan Cease, I think, is someone that comes to mind. You Darvish, a little bit there. So pay the man. Pay the man. You'll go over the luxury tax. That's going to be okay. You'll survive. You know what you will also do? You'll win over the fans, and they'll never let you down. But if you let that man walk, I don't know. I can tell you, I don't think Judd survives it. You know, I want to tie it into another thing that I want to talk about that I've fallen madly in love with. And that's this show on Netflix called The Clubhouse. 8 episodes, all access ability to the Boston Red Sox. I mean, all access. They got access to these players at home. They got access to these players on the road. They're bringing us into the dugout in a way that I've dreamed of being able to see and hear and truly feel. They've brought us to the pitcher's mound for when the pitching coach goes out and talks to the pitcher. I've always literally wanted to hear what is being said right now. This documentary does that. And it is beautiful, truly beautiful. I'm so blown away and so impressed with this documentary. And the one thing this specific documentary does, because of the team, i.e. the Red Sox and Fenway, is that it really shows that for these fans, the owners have a responsibility. And they hear about it if they don't deliver. You know, just ask the Cardinals fans right now and ask Cardinals ownership if they think the fans are with them. They'd be lying if they said yes. I mean, the Cardinals fans are definitely making it known how they feel, and they should. Because we're not talking about paying $15, $20 to go see a ball game, and if they win or lose, it's okay. No. Now these ticket prices are insane. In order for me to watch my Chicago Cubs, I have to pay close to $130 a year for MLB TV. I can't get marquee because I'm not in the Chicago region where marquee shows. Now, I could get a VPN and all that shit, but I shouldn't have to. That's ridiculous. There was a time when Cubs games were shown for free on WGN, and as long as you got WGN, you could watch it. and you could also listen on the radio, etc. And that's true of all these teams. And because the owners and ownership teams have been chasing the money and are now after television rights and owning their own television and now betting and having all this other stuff, it's like you're going to have to deliver because the fans are not going to put up with it anymore. I see several stadiums that are empty, and I see several teams fandom that feel very let down. You know, Oakland Athletics, I know those fans feel let down. The Tampa Bay Rays, I feel the team and even the fans feel let down in that situation because they're in New York Yankees, spring training stadium because no one could figure out how to put a roof on their other stadium after a hurricane. These teams are printing up money. And so the disregard of some of these teams and the dismissal of their fans, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to bite some of these owners in the ass, and maybe that's a good thing. And I'll just say again, this documentary, the most remarkable thing about it is it really gives you a great access into the athletes and just their mindset and the mental grind of this game. And I knew it existed, obviously. As a matter of fact, just the other day, my wife and I were talking about how if you're a golfer, a baseball player, how not only do you have to just deal with the sport and the games and all of that, but then the weather, the stress of the weather really can impact several sports. And I really admire baseball players. I think to go out there and do what they do, especially after seeing the clubhouse, hats off. So I will, as a fan, I will say it's making me, think of all the athletes that I enjoy quite differently. Because I do think as fans, we can tend to be a little dehumanizing sometimes and forget that you guys are human beings and just kind of look at you as these superstars, and superstars have bad days too. So thank you, Chicago Cubs, for being in first place still. That's really good. And I really do enjoy watching this team. I am having so much fun, and I can only wait for more. And I just hope we can get pictures. And hats off to the documentary crew for the clubhouse. I cannot recommend it enough. The Boston Red Sox is my American League team that I worship and have always loved. So congrats to Boston on the success of the documentary, and congrats to my Cubbies for being in first place. Let's keep it going.
Welcome. You've got mail.
All right. Before we go, I just want to open up our mailbag. This will be the first time for this. It won't be the last because, again, many of you wrote some amazing questions and comments and just asking for a bit more information. So I've chosen about 5 or 6 here, and I'm just going to answer them real quick. No real explanation, just kind of knock these out. So the first question is, tell us about the bobbleheads. Well, I'm assuming you're referring to, if you see my TikToks or several of my photos on Instagram, will have the kind of backdrop that I have in my office space. And I have several bobbleheads. I've been collecting bobbleheads for quite some time. I believe my very first bobblehead was actually a Cubs one, of course, many, many moons ago. But currently, one of my favorites is I have a black and white Mickey Mouse playing golf, of all things. I also have a Tiger Woods one. I have Woody, Toy Story. I have Howdy Doody. I have Jack Sparrow. I have Barack Obama. And then I have a Buddy Jesus bobblehead. And those are kind of the treasured ones. Oh, and Marvin the Martian. I love Marvin the Martian. So I love the bobbleheads. My wife hates them. And that's all you need to know there. Favorite movie to watch and laugh. If I ever want to laugh, which I love laughing, I will put in Step Brothers or Waiting for Guffman, bar none, every single time. Who is your dream interview of someone alive? Who's your dream interview of someone alive? I'm guessing you mean someone that's living right now who I would love to interview. Well, I've talked about them a lot today. Neil Diamond and Michael J. Fox, hands down. If someone gave me that opportunity, oh my God, that would just be a dream come true. So yeah, without a doubt. And part B to that question, dream interview not living. So again, my dream interview of someone that is sadly no longer with us, that would also be someone I mentioned, Jimmy Stewart, without a doubt. I just adore him. He is outstanding. This is a great question. If you could be CEO of any company, which one would it be and why? I would have to say Disney. And it would be for many reasons, but Disney is what really inspired me to even be in this industry and to pursue entertainment. Yes, Walt Disney had a lot of faults. Many people back then did. But just if you look at his legacy and what he created and his commitment and his belief and his dream and what he was doing, those are all very, very admirable qualities. And sometimes the crazy geniuses, suffer from many other things. They don't have people skills and they're racist or whatever the case may be. But I just have to marvel at the fact that this man started off as a cartoonist in a newspaper drawing comics and created this little character, and that little character built this incredible company that has brought many, many millions of people tons of joy and memories and experiences that are life-changing. And that certainly is true for me. So it'd be ridiculous not to want to be CEO of all that and to also know a lot of the secrets. That'd be fun. So thanks. That was a great question. And it's so funny this question was asked because I was literally thinking about ending the show like this. And so we'll just do this here. What do you, Landyn, currently have no fucks left about? And this week it would be, I have no fucks left for the Supreme Court. None whatsoever. Because they're allowing to happen what's happening. I know that did not make sense. It's late, but they're allowing all of this shit to happen. They're not stepping in. They're not intervening. And I know there's abilities for them to do so, especially in the decisions they've already decided on in some instances. The fact that basically we can't get this citizen from Maryland back home, I'm appalled. And so I have no fucks left right now for the Supreme Court. Fuck them.
I have no fucks left. No, no. I have no fucks, right? Oh. I have no
Well, that's
fucks
it.
left. No,
We're
no.
done.
So
We're
fuck off.
outie.
I'm busy.
5,000.
Bye, bye.
Put a fork in me.
Soft.
Yada, yada, yada.
Sorry, don't cry.
We had a good time today, though. You learned a lot about me, a lot more about me. So we're not even going to do a recap here, other than you now know who Zuzu and Thespis are. My little babies. I can even kind of hear Thespis crying in the next room right now. Probably wants food. So I better go feed him. But thank you so much for coming by. Yay, it's been 6 months. Celebrating. But until next week, we'll have another phenomenal interview. I need you to take care of yourself, take care of each other, and always lead with love. Bye-bye. Take care. No Fucks Left is a presentation of Transplendent Media.
I have no
The host and creator is Landyn Shaw.
Oh, I have no
Logo and graphic design by Wally Spence.
no, so fuck off.
Our intern and project manager is Ryan Balmer. If you'd like to interact or connect with the show, be sure to visit our website at nofucksleftpod.com. That's nofucksleftpod.com. As always, you can always click on any of the links in the program notes to find out more information about the show, Landyn, and our guests.
I have no
Thanks.
fucks left. No, no. I have no fucks, right? Oh, oh. I have no fucks left. No, no. So fuck off. I'm busy. Bye, bye. Piss off. Not sorry. Don't.